Last week, someone walked into a room and your eyes moved before you told them to. You felt it. A pull quiet, fast, and completely uninvited. You probably think that feeling belongs to you. It doesn't, and it is far, far older than you are. We like to believe attraction is modern, that it lives in profile photos and first messages, and the particular way this century teaches you to want. We treat it like a choice, like taste, something you developed. But the pull you felt in that room was not invented by your century. It was running in bodies that never saw a mirror. To understand it, you have to go back. Not 100 years, not 1,000. Around 40,000 years to a cold landscape where people who share your feelings sat around fires, wrapped in animal skin, watching each other across the light. The fire pops. Someone glances up through the smoke. Someone else looks away too quickly, then looks back. There are no words yet for what is happening between them, no poems, no name for the feeling at all. And still, it is happening. Did they feel what you feel? The spark, the nervous stomach, the face you cannot stop looking at. Start somewhere strange. Start with your nose. In 1995, a Swiss biologist named Klaus Wedekind ran an experiment that sounds like a joke and became one of the most quoted studies in the science of desire. He took 44 men and had each one wear the same plain cotton t-shirt for 2 nights. No soap, no cologne, nothing but themselves. Then he sealed each shirt inside a box with a small hole in the top, brought in 49 women, and asked them to lean in, breathe, and rank which sense they found most attractive. The women could not see a face, not a body, not a smile, not a jawline. They could not hear a voice. There was only the smell of a stranger and a hole in a cardboard box. And their choices were not random. Again and again, the women preferred the scent of men whose immune systems were most different from their own. There is a cluster of genes that runs your immune defenses, and the women's noses were reading those genes through skin they had never touched. They leaned toward the men whose immune genes, combined with their own, would give a future child the widest possible protection against disease. Here is the part that should unsettle you. When Wedekind tested women who were on the birth control pill, the preference flipped. The pill mimics the hormonal state of pregnancy, and a body that thinks it is pregnant wants family close, not strangers. So the same women, on the pill, drifted instead toward men who smelled like kin. A hormone can quietly rewrite who you are attracted to, and you would never feel it happen. You would just call it chemistry. Now go back to the fire. Your ancestor sitting there had the same nose and the same hidden math running behind it. When one of them leaned a little closer to another and felt something warm and certain and impossible to argue with, it was this, an ancient immune system whispering to them through scent, choosing on their behalf. So yes, in that one way, they felt attraction exactly like you, and it reached far past smell. In 1989, a psychologist named David Buss did something no one had attempted at that scale. He surveyed more than 10,000 people across 37 different cultures, big cities, remote islands, villages with no written language, different gods, different foods, different marriage customs. And underneath all of it, the same patterns kept rising to the surface. Across nearly every culture he touched, certain signals, cues of health, of youth, of stability, pulled people in the same direction. The surface details changed from place to place. The pull underneath did not. You can even see it carved in stone. Reach back around 25,000 years and you find small figures shaped from mammoth ivory and soft limestone, bodies rounded, exaggerated, unmistakably objects of desire. One of them, a palm-sized figure we now call the Venus of Willendorf, still sits behind glass in a museum in Vienna. Someone made that. Someone with cold hands and a sharp stone tens of thousands of years ago felt the pull strongly enough to spend hours carving it. And there is a stranger piece of evidence than any carving. It is written inside your own cells. If your ancestry runs anywhere outside of Africa, roughly 1 to 4% of your DNA is Neanderthal, a separate kind of human. Heavier brow, different build, a face you would notice across a room, and yet somewhere in the deep past, your ancestors looked across that difference, felt drawn to it, and had children. The pull was strong enough to cross the line between 2 different species. So by now the answer looks obvious. Ancient humans felt attraction, just like we do. Same nose, same patterns across every culture. The same undeniable pull, strong enough to carve into ivory, strong enough to blur the boundary of what even counted as human. The story could end right here. Warm, simple. Love connecting us in an unbroken chain across 40,000 years. But that story is wrong, and the reason is hiding in the one place we have not looked yet. Not the nose, not the DNA, not the carving, the brain. In 2005, a team led by the anthropologist Helen Fisher, working with Arthur Aaron and Lucy Brown, slid 17 people who had just fallen madly in love into a brain scanner. Each looked at a photograph of the person they wanted, then a photograph of someone ordinary back and forth, while the machine watched which parts of them lit up. And one specific region answered, a small structure buried deep near the base of the brain called the ventral tegmental area. Remember that name. Because here is what almost no one says out loud when they call this feeling romantic. That region is not where love lives. It is not the seat of warmth or tenderness, or the quiet care you feel for someone after 20 years. It is something much older and blunter than that. It is a craving circuit. The ventral tegmental area floods the brain with dopamine. It is the same machinery that drives hunger and thirst and addiction. It is the part that lights up in a person reaching, again, for the drug they swore they were done with. So when you look at the one you want and feel that desperate, narrow cannot think about, anything else pull, you are not feeling a delicate emotion blooming in your heart. You are feeling a drive. Now go back and reread the entire first half of this story, the scent that pulled the women towards strangers in the dark. The pattern that held across 37 cultures, the pull strong enough to cross between species and carved stone. We called all of it attraction, as though it belonged to you. It does not. It is something being done to you, and once you see it, the evidence will not stop stacking. In 1999, an Italian researcher named Donatella Marazziti measured the brain chemistry of people in the first raw weeks of new love, and found their serotonin had crashed to the same low levels seen in patients with obsessive-compulsive disorder. That is why early love feels like a thought you cannot switch off. Chemically, it sits right next to a compulsion. The bonding that comes later is not yours either. Work by the neuroscientist Larry Young showed that in small mammals, two chemicals, oxytocin and vasopressin, quietly decide whether a pair stays together for life or drifts apart. The same two chemicals run in you. Adjust their levels in an animal in a lab and you can change who it bonds to. Loyalty turned like a dial you cannot see. Even what you find beautiful was decided before you had any say in it. In 1993, a researcher named Devendra Singh found that across wildly different cultures, men were drawn toward one specific ratio between the waist and the hips. A number the conscious mind never calculates, and yet the eye reads it instantly. Your ancestor's eye across that fire read the exact same equation. So look again at the question we started with. Did ancient humans feel attraction the way we do? The question was pointing the wrong way the entire time. They did not learn to feel it from us. We feel it because of them. That pull in the room was never a modern thing you developed, and it was never really a choice, and it was never quite yours to begin with. It is an ancient survival drive forged inside bodies that hunted and starved and huddled around fire, still running in you tonight, wearing the costume of romance so well you mistook it for your own heart. And this is where it turns quietly into something almost beautiful. Because if the pull is not yours, then it is not new either. Nothing about it is broken or shameful. It is simply older than language, older than cities, older than the idea that a feeling could belong to a single person. You are running their code, the dopamine, the scent, the fixation that arrives feeling exactly like fate. It is one system, unbroken, handed down through every generation standing between them and you, doing the one thing it was ever built to do. Keep the line alive for one more night. So the next time someone walks into a room and your eyes move before you tell them to, you will know something you did not know before. Those are not quite your eyes moving. They are eyes 2 million years old, and they are still looking for exactly what they were always looking for.